Hey, good evening everyone, and welcome to the Ushanka Show live. Today we celebrate 2,000 subscribers. Actually, right now we have like 2,074. Well, I hope someone will show up tonight. But to start with, I would like to, first person, hello Youth TV, how's it going? First of all, I would like to say a couple things. Hey, we got people showing up. Hi guys. I need to make a video about who am I and what I'm doing in the United States and why I'm telling stories about Soviet Union. So I decided right now, while people gather, Привет, Taras, how's it going? I'll tell you a little short my biography, right? So I was born in July of 1971 in Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. At that time it's called the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. And so I spent 20 years of my life in the Soviet Union, because Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 when I was 20. So I had normal Soviet childhood, I would say. I was born in Kiev, but both of my parents came from out of country, out of the villages, looking for better life and better jobs, because all you could do in the village would be worker of the collective farm. So like my mom, she said, grandma pretty much pushed her out of the village, say go, because nothing here to do. Just hard work and no money. So I said, was born in 1971. So that time, I forgot to check, but I think Khrushchev, when I was born, I think several months later, Khrushchev was removed. So I'm kind of, caught just the whim of the Khrushchev era, but it was very short. Good evening, привет, Portland, Oregon, how's it going? We got actually quite a few Russian speaker viewers too, which is nice. Lost the train of my thought. So anyway, but then Brezhnev came to power, so most of my life in Soviet Union I had one leader, which was Leonid Brezhnev. Then he passed away, I believe, in 82. Then we had this the funeral era, that the new leaders were elected and dying fast. What are your thoughts on third way economics? I honestly have no idea about the third way economics. So all I know is a capitalistic way and socialist way, and so far socialist way didn't impress anyone. Question, how do you feel about the Soviet Union overall? Well, I was working towards that question, because I had several questions came, similar questions asking, were you happy when you lived in Soviet Union? And I kind of understand that question, that people kind of thinking I was lucky guy, because I lived in the first country that had socialism, but didn't have a capitalistic exploiters, right? But I consider myself extremely lucky because I was born in the Soviet Union and I spent my childhood. My childhood was amazing. I mean, besides the fact that we lived in dorms for about 5 years, so we shared one room. My family shared room with another family. But when you're a little kid, you don't realize, that can be better than that. It's just that is what it is. And I remember I was quite upset with the other family daughter. She was like a baby, so she was crying most of the night, so you couldn't sleep really well. So you can imagine, have two families in one room. But then we got our little apartment. Every summer I spent out in the country with my grandparents. We didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't starve. I mean, we didn't do much, but I had plenty of friends where I lived. So yeah, so I spent my childhood in Soviet Union, and it was a great childhood. Looking right now at the kids and all the electronics and iPads, iPhones and video games, Xboxes, I'm horrified, because this whole culture of going outside and playing with friends and all these adventures, sometimes it would be kind of dangerous, but you stayed sharp, you learn new things, but now it's like everyone is indoors, kids talk between each other on the phones or through internet. And of course, another thing, I lived always in the big apartment buildings, so it was always at least 10 kids outside playing. So I had a great childhood. There's a question, did people go deer hunting? No, we had pretty much the whole, like where I lived in Ukraine, there was hardly any wild animals left. I mean, there were some like areas, protected areas, so they'll have maybe wild pigs and maybe some animals like deer, but otherwise the forests were like empty. No foxes, no wolves. The only people hunted maybe for like ducks, wild ducks. Otherwise, hunting, there was really nothing to hunt. You had to go. So I grew up in Cuba until I was 10, so it was similar. Yeah, you don't realize how bad things are till you get a better life. Then you started realizing that is. Do you like Soviet architecture? Not really. I mean, Stalin area was all kind of, big, giant, fancy buildings, and then later they went just for super practical, ugly apartment buildings. So, yeah, so as I said, do you think people who romanticize Soviet Union naive? Well, there's two kinds of people who miss Soviet Union. The people who never lived there and they just watching Russian TV and they're thinking, it looks to them like it's now, like especially in Russia, there's quite a hard push to show that Soviet Union was actually great and life was great. So there's young people that sometimes comment on my channel and they're angry, like, hey, you lived in Soviet Union, why do you, I'm sorry for my language, shit on it. And also there's the people, I think they miss not as much Soviet Union, but they miss being young and full of energy, and so our memory is so bad, like we forget bad things really quick, but we remember good things. So you look back like, oh yeah, this was great and that was great. So first memories come back, really good memories, but if you start kind of thinking a little bit more, like I remember when my brother was born, he was born 15 years later than me, so I was, almost like his father. There was days like I had to go and stay in the front of the grocery store at 5 a.m. Well, grocery store opens at 7. But if you go there at 7, there'll be a huge line and you'll be in the end of the line. By the time you get milk, they'll be out of milk. So since I had to buy some milk for my little brother, I had to get up and go there at 5 a.m. So I remember this winter, you get in line, you stay outside in the bitter cold, waiting for the grocery store to open, you staying already in line. I mean, it wasn't like, I'm not the only one. I mean, there were very 20, 30 people. So those memories, I wasn't that good, just to get milk, you had to go through all this trouble. There was always shortages of stuff. Another thing. So I have a comment from random leftist says, no, you don't poop too much on the Soviet Union. I'm trying to be realistic. Fortunately, my memory is pretty decent. Actually, I remember more about those days than I remember something happened 2 weeks ago. There's another question about World War II, what I learned about World War II in Soviet Union. I got quite upset when I moved to America and, when I settled down and had time to start reading books, that a lot of our history was totally not correct. You had to reread and relearn all over a lot of things, because the way, the start of World War II was presented in Soviet Union, I probably should make a video about it. Essentially, I mean, we had the whole big, they call it institute, but it's like university, when they study history, right? And that was they were fighting, we need to show the real truth, so socialist truth about war. And the way they presented World War II, greetings from Minnesota, how's it going? Do I know anybody who's sent to Gulag? Okay, so I'll answer that about Gulag in a second. They split, like for Soviet Union, it's 2 wars. You know, for the rest of the world, it's World War II. Привет, товарищ, привет. For Soviet Union, it's 2 wars. There is the World War II, and then there is the Great Patriotic War, and they separate. Like our war started on June 22nd, 1941, when Germans attacked Soviet Union, and the war stopped, the Great Patriotic War, May 9, 1945. And this is our Great Patriotic War between fascist Germany and Soviet Union. Then, besides that, like a parallel universe, there was another war, World War II, going on, and it's Britain, you know, France fighting, and United States fighting on 2 fronts, but that war wasn't that important. The main war was us, and of course, one of the reasons they did that, because that way you kind of separate these all events prior June 22nd, because, you know, when Germany attacked Poland, 2 weeks later, Soviet Union attacked Poland too, but if you need to separate those events, because then we look like we're aggressors and we're together with Hitler. So this whole propaganda was really kind of hide under the rug, the whole fact like, well, we didn't attack Poland, we just kind of rolled in to save Slavic population from fascist Germany. And of course, no one ever said there was a secret agreement and all those things. So this is what I knew about World War II back then, so I had to study all over and learn more about how Soviet Union attacked Finland, and you know, how we took half of the Poland, kind of protecting people, and then we occupied the Baltic states, but they kind of like joined us, and then we took chunk of Romania and chunk of Hungary. So Soviet Union was quite aggressive. Prior Great Patriotic War, and Soviet Union was kind of on the same side as Germany, but that kind of thing that's why they separated, like, okay, those things kind of not related. The question about winter in Michigan, is it cold in Ukraine? It's really similar, but there's way more snow here. Way more snow in Michigan, especially with lake effect. So otherwise, I enjoy winter, and we do a lot of sports. So anyway, there was another question I was trying to remember to answer. Yeah, there's a good point that life in Soviet Union wasn't that good, but comparing with other countries. Well, the main problem with life in Soviet Union, there was a huge gap between living in a big city. Like I lived in Kiev. So if you watch my videos, the way the cities were supplied with groceries and other items, Moscow was tier 1, so they had the most of the things. Then Kiev, Leningrad were tier 2, and other capitals, and then you go out in the country and it was bad. Like stores were empty, and then like my grandparents never had running water, they never had indoor plumbing. So they lived like 100 years back. The only thing they had was electricity in their house and that wired radio. That's it. Like they didn't have a refrigerator or stove. They kept their stuff in a cellar. They had outhouse, and most people like that lived in Soviet Union out in the country. So when I came here and I was out in the country in Michigan, it was just a shock that people here got all the conveniences as a big city, like air conditioning, running water, indoor plumbing, indoor toilets, and they lived out in the country. So that was the huge thing. Like life was okay in Soviet Union in big cities. Life was horrible out of the middle of nowhere, small towns, or out in the country. So don't you think you have a positive childhood memories because your parents provided a stable, supportive home? And happy, well, you know, parents everywhere can be different. My family wasn't like perfect family. My dad unfortunately was a heavy drinker. Every night he was coming from work, he was drunk, and he would just come home and he crashes on the couch and falls asleep for a couple hours. There was a lot of workers were doing this. It's just after the end of the shift, they'll sit down, have some vodka, then they all stagger home. Россия said, my English is not good, but I want to ask how was the school in USSR. You can ask in Russian if you know Russian. I don't know Spanish much. So, yeah, my mom tried really hard to, kept me fed and all those things. So my childhood was pretty decent. Of course, maybe, I don't know about, I got spanked quite a bit. So I don't know, like, what do you consider abusive family? My dad spanked me only once when I was tiny, but otherwise it was my mom's job. And first it was regular spanking. Then when I got older, I went upgraded to the belt. But looking back, it's all well deserved. So, what is your understanding of abusive family? And as I mentioned, I'm a lefty, but because in Soviet schools at that time, teachers asked parents to help switch kids to the right hand. I'm actually writing with my right hand. Actually, I can do with both, but my mom spent quite a few painful evenings sitting next to me with the ruler and smacked my hand every time then when I tried to switch hand back to the left hand. And I'm thankful for that. Like, my wife was horrified when I mentioned my daughter is a lefty, unfortunately, and I wanted to try to switch her too, and my wife was just like not having it. And I was like, what? Like, I think that was great because it was a short-term pain, but it was a long-term gain. What did you learn about capitalism in school? Oh, of course, we had a lot of propaganda. I mean, early school years, I don't say was really much going on, but then later, starting from the 4th grade, so that was like 11, we had once a week, at least in Kiev, we had once a week political information class. And it's like you have to go to school 30 minutes earlier and you got to prepare some kind of story out of newspaper about what's going on in the world. And of course, most stories from the West were always negative. So that's kind of, it was a bunch of negative information. Of course, they'll show you homeless people, they'll show you lines of people who don't have work. And of course, Soviet Union was really proud because we never had unemployment in Soviet Union. It was 100% employment. But we had the law that it's against the law to be unemployed. So this kind of, okay, yeah, it's awesome there was a 0% unemployment, but you'll go to jail for 3 months if you don't work without the reason. So if you're a parasite of society, there was actually, what is it called? There was a law, I don't remember the number, but they'll put you to jail, prison, not jail. See. Keep on forgetting which one is worse. That light one, jail, I think, right? Prison is a bad, serious crime. So you go to jail for 3 months as a punishment for being parasite of society, not working. And there was a story about a teacher who decided, I don't want to have this low-paid job. Being a teacher, I can just grow rabbits and sell meat and a skin for hats. And he got arrested because he didn't work officially for more than 3 months. So he got arrested and put to jail for 3 weeks. In the USSR, the workers' paycheck show taxes. No, first of all, we never had paychecks. The first time I saw paycheck was 1995 when I came first time in America. Before that, Soviet Union was absolutely cash society. Everything was cash, coins and paper money. And so, twice a month they'll get paid. There'll be so-called avance, like prepay, so about 40% of your pay, and then you get paluchka, so that will be a salary. So people line up at a little window. There'll be money truck coming, and they give you cash, what you earned. And of course, you start the job that tells you're gonna make 130 rubles a month, and that's it. There's was nothing else really. Like, my dad hardly had any overtime or anything like that. You just work and you get paid cash, so there was no other option. So do they have loans? Yes, actually I'm planning to make a video pretty soon about how we moved to our next apartment. I don't know if whoever is watching my channel pretty closely and remembers right now that the story about my childhood, we moved finally when I was 5 years old out of the dorm room, and we have our own apartment, which was a little tiny studio, which was amazing after you share the room with the other family. But then we lived in this one-room apartment, and my mom started looking for other options, and we actually got the loan, like a mortgage loan, but called Cooperative, and it was a super expensive apartment, but there was only way to get an apartment instead of waiting for 20 years. Like my dad, they had a 20-year waiting list to get a free apartment, and it's like what meant free, government gives you apartment to live in, but it's never yours. You just live there, you pay utilities. So the interest rate, I honestly don't remember. It was probably low. I know, like, if you keep money in a bank, in the Soviet bank, it was only one, it was 3%. It was always 3% interest rate that you get. And I honestly don't recall. I need to ask my mom, she probably know. What was dating and marriage like? Well, I never was married in the Soviet Union. I was dating. I mean, it's like everywhere else. Usually, we had no Western cartoons during Soviet Union. Just the most Western one was out of Poland, Lyolik and Bolik. But usually girls in Soviet Union, if you like 22, 23, and you're not married yet, like there's something wrong with you. You're probably already divorced. So usually girls were getting married pretty soon, like starting about 19, and by the age of 21, 22, most girls will be married. Later, some of them will get divorced. I was surprised to find out actually in Soviet Union they had quite a high rate of divorces, but most of it was because drinking problem with husbands. Like, this nice thing was about being a man in Soviet Union, the women's standards for the guys were quite low. As long as you don't smoke, it's already great. And if you don't drink, if you're not alcoholic, there's like, it just, oh my goodness, it was awesome. Everyone, like, this is the guy you want to marry because he doesn't drink. And then, of course, if you have a good job and it was hard to get like job that you make way more money than somebody else. I'm planning to make several videos, but the only people like I know who officially were making a lot of money were the coal miners. And then, of course, professors, kind of upper party echelon. What was the average family size? The family had a lot of kids. No, most of my friends, it's a one-kid family. Was several 2 kids. Out of all my friends back in Kiev, I had only one family that had 3 kids. And that was like real unusual. They actually had free food in the school because, government was trying to kind of encourage people to have more kids, but because people had not a lot of money and poor, housing conditions, like European part, we probably had a shrinkage of population because people, like most of my friends, it's a 1-kid or 2-kid families. Like I was a 1-kid family till I was 15, and it's kind of interesting. But my mom started having serious health problems, and we couldn't figure out what's wrong with her. And she went to like different doctors. The one lady, she said, it might sound weird, but I think your body wants to have another baby. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you need to have another kid because your system's just out of whack, because you need to have another kid. So that's why when I was 15, my parents went and that's how I got my brother. And for real, it took care of the problem. It was bizarre. Government didn't provide any birth controls or nothing like that. They provide medical services for free and abortions for free. I mean, everything was free of charge. Of course, it wasn't free. Government paid for it. They paid doctors. But there was no contraceptive. I mean, you can buy condoms, but it's on to you. And of course, Soviet condoms were really poor quality. I never used Soviet condom, but that's what I heard. So a lot of people, the best condom you can get in the Soviet Union was made in India. What was the healthcare? Healthcare was okay. I mean, I'm also planning to make a video about it. You always spend the hour at least in a line. Like you need to, you go there, of course, I don't remember that you call and schedule. Like we even didn't have a phone in our apartment till like 1987 maybe, but you go, it's called na zapis. You go to the polyclinica, which is like a, hospital will be больница, like where people are staying there overnight or for weeks when they're sick, they got surgeries. And then you have polyclinica, it's like these walk-in clinics, here you go, walk-in clinics. And most of the time you need to go there first and schedule your appointment. Then you come back when your appointment is and sit in line for an hour or whatever, and then you go and being taken care of. The difference was interesting thing comparing with America. I had all my teeth pulled out by a dentist. Like in Soviet Union, they don't just wait like here till it comes off. I'm talking about kids. As long as my tooth become loose, my mom takes me right away. We go to dentist, and there'll be one long line as people who do, like fixing teeth. But there's also was like a speedy help. It's like if you need your tooth pulled out, then you go on separate line because that goes fast. And your tooth is loose, okay, it's молочный, milk teeth, it gotta go. You guys call it here baby teeth, we call them milk teeth. They yanked it out, and so all my teeth none of them come out naturally. I had to go and the dentist will pull it out and I'll give it to you if you want. Somebody just put the comment about lines in the ER. I did have experience being in line, but they look, I cut my arm pretty bad, but they look, and they said, yeah, you can wait. And I wait like 3 hours till they stitch my hands. I cut it pretty bad. So we have a person trying to write on Russian, but I can't understand what he's exactly trying to say. And Comrade Random Leftist asking always like these heavy duty questions that a lot of times I don't have answers. National Bolsheviks, well, the whole concept, national Bolshevism, communism, socialism is international. And I think the only way that communism could succeed or socialism is it should be all over the world. There's the whole original belief theory by Marx and Engels that, that was a joke, that it needs to be everywhere, otherwise we're gonna lose. And one of the reasons why Soviet Union didn't make it, Stalin changed the concept from all over the world. We have unique conditions in Soviet Union. We can develop, socialism to communism in a single country because we have everything we don't need. But still, as I said, the National and Bolsheviks is again. Was it hard to get toys? I wouldn't say hard. We had some crappy toys that you can get, but I don't think it was a huge selection. I had I was a boy, so little toy trucks, that we had a couple of those. Then I had this rifle thing. So I don't say it would be a shortage of toys, but there was nothing like overwhelmingly that huge selection. The idea was that you cannot waste money on wars, you need national government. Yeah, I think it was more like they probably knew that there is no way we can compete against capitalism. So what do you think about Putin? Oh, Comrade Putin. When he took over way back from Yeltsin, I was happy because, Russia it was pretty embarrassing watching for always drunk Yeltsin, embarrassing country. And I lived in Ukraine, so we had our own problems. So when the Putin took over and he started kind of chasing the oligarchs a little bit, a couple of guys ran away out of the country, so I thought he was kind of turning the boat. But, now it looks like he wants to be, General Secretary of Russia, of Soviet Russia. A lot of things kind of slowly bringing back, like they had a Russian anthem, but then they changed the music back to Soviet music like we used to have, Союз нерушимый. So that freaked a lot of people out because, he misses a lot Soviet Union. He misses the whole concept that if you're a leader, everyone respects you, no one makes fun of you, everyone listens to you. And of course, with the events in Ukraine, there's another question, what my thoughts about the annexation of Crimea. I'm from Ukraine, so of course, I don't think that's right. We can discuss why Khrushchev gave Crimea to Ukraine in 1954. But when the Soviet Union separated countries, there was agreement if I never fought any wars, that there wasn't an army, in Soviet army, my eyesight was too poor to join the military. So Salo is the signature meal in Ukraine. It's all the jokes about pork fat, pork lard. So the way, the agreement was like the Ukraine will give up all their nuclear weapons in exchange that Russia will guarantee, along with the other countries, its territorial celestness, like unity of the Ukraine. So that was agreement. Hey, we'll give all the Soviet nuclear weapons back to Russia, so we don't have the spread of it. But you guarantee us, guys, of course, if Ukraine knew what happened, 20 years later, they might keep a couple nuclear bombs just to keep Russia away from them. On this grand scale, for me, it's whatever, if people of Crimea are happy about being in Russia, their life got better, then sure, whatever. I'm not about these national borders. I always consider myself like I consider myself a citizen of planet Earth. So for me, borders, it's all artificial. If you're up in the space looking at Earth, you don't see borders. It's all us humans made the governments. And so if life in the Crimea better for those people there, sure. But now, they started the new war in the eastern part of Ukraine, and, this is really not cool. So I'm against that. There's a question about if the life under Trotsky will be better than Stalin. I don't think so. I honestly don't think it will be much of the difference. All the struggles between Trotsky and Stalin was really just a power struggle. Trotsky was pushing the world revolution idea harder. Stalin was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But it was just a power struggle who's going to be the top dog. Trotsky lost, Stalin won, but I don't think it will be any better under Trotsky. Can you travel freely in different states? We couldn't. Buy Youth TV, I gotta have dinner. I didn't know a lot of people who traveled overseas except when they had work. It was pretty expensive. I think some people went to Bulgaria maybe because they had a nice area by the Black Sea. But the people I knew, the way you spend your vacation, and it was a paid vacation for 3 months. 3 months, my bad. 1 month, full 30 days, fully paid vacation. The best thing you can do, it was very expensive. You go down to the Black Sea to Crimea and you spend a week or 2 weeks there. And I said it was pretty expensive. Some people just go and tent in camp, like they call the wild tourists. You just set up tents middle of nowhere by the sea and you just spend there a week. Or you just go to towns and you rent a little apartment, or usually it's like you rent a room and you spend time at the sea. So that was what most people wanted to do in the summer for their vacation, is go to the sea and get some tan and warm up. Because if you look at the map, Russia is pretty much where the United States stops, it's where the Russia starts. So it's way up north. It's like Canada, and most territory it's really cold. Really, it was not a good weather to live, so everyone was trying to get some sunshine. Like now I live in Michigan and I had so much sunshine in the summer. I was like, I don't know why people want to live any more south than Michigan. It's plenty of sunshine and hot weather for me. So anyway, the short note, we'll do a little commercial break. Приветствие из Puerto Rico. Hello. Oh, Puerto Rico. How's it going? So when I got in the United States, as I said, I lived in Ukraine till 1995. And in 1995, it was the first time where I ever came to United States. And I was on an exchange program. I managed to learn English myself. I kind of got lucky there. I thought about it, since Soviet Union collapsed and we don't have all these limitations now for the Western companies to come in and do business. I was finishing college. I didn't fight any wars. I never was in military. So I started learning English because, like, okay, I'll have a degree of engineer of electronics in English. I probably can get a decent job at one of the, you know, foreign corporations, American, like Motorola or whatever. They never came by the time I was there, but I managed to get into exchange program, and I came to Michigan. Actually, I worked in a summer camp not far from here, and that's what I'm saying. There's a commercial break. I actually managed. This is me in the summer camp. This book is in Russian. It's called "Американские дневники," American Diaries, and it's already published. You can purchase. It's only on Russian. Right now, I'm working to translate it to English. So this is impressions of the Soviet guy who came first time in the United States. So everything is shocking, and especially when I got in the camp, you see the kid next to me, he's from Southside Chicago. So this is a ghetto camp. They bring inner city kids from Chicago, and I spent all summer there. So that was quite an experience. So if anyone is interested in this book, it's only in Russian right now. You can download a copy for $5 or purchase this book. If you live in America, it's only $12, including shipping. You can go to sputnikov.com, and that's my website, and I offer those books for sale, and I can assign it. So Sputnikov, like Smirnov, but it's a sputnikov.com, and so you can download the book, an electronic copy, or you can purchase. Let's see, and it has a couple of black and white pictures in the back. So yeah, that was a quite experience. I worked at the camp for 2 months, then I worked. Have I watched movie Borat? Of course I did watch the movie Borat. That was funny. Then I worked for 2 months in this farm, a local farm, picking apples. So that was a really cool experience. Well and learn. What were the coolest different things you saw when you came to America? Oh, actually, I talk a lot about it in the book. The first shock was interesting. You know, when you live in another country, and, you know, after 1991, when Soviet Union collapsed, and prior to that, you know, perestroika with Gorbachev, when we get openness, we started seeing more American movies and all that stuff. You know, you watch movies, you see American magazines and stuff. So I had this weird impression that all the women in America just like dead gorgeous models. I don't know why. It sounds so stupid now, but you know, you watch any American movie, there's always this hotties, right? You watch the catalogs, or even Playboy magazine. I never seen that one. So when I got first up to New York City, I was like, hell yeah, let's check it out, American chicks. And we went for a walk in Broadway. We stayed in Columbia University when I came on this exchange program. And I walked the street, I was like, what the heck? Where is all the pretty girls? So that was quite a shock that there wasn't a pretty girl in every corner in United States. Was there an obesity crisis in Soviet Union? No. I mean, hardly anyone had cars. Everyone had to walk to work. We walk a lot. I mean, you don't realize how healthy walking is and how much you burn energy. Yeah, obesity, right? I mean, we had some chubby older people, but oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, just to get groceries, you need to walk for 2-3 hours, and then you carry all these bags. So I don't know who is Dennis Prague. I said, random leftist, your questions are way too heavy for my level. Like a lot of the names you mentioned, I have no idea. That you're constantly asking about this dude from Leningrad that could be a better person than Gorbachev. I had no clue about him. First time I heard it is from you. What was dating like in Ukraine? That was normal. I mean, you like the girl, you ask her out, or you meet her at the party. Have you heard band Aquarium? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this band. There's a couple of songs like Город Золотой, the Golden City, I like a lot, but generally I wasn't a big fan of them. It was a little bit too funky for me. So anyway, so I said, I'm working on this book right now to translate to English. Ivan Drago, yeah. Dolph Lundgren is impressive dude. He was big, yeah. And it's one of my phrases I always tell people, I'll break you. with my accent. Sounds pretty good too. So I hope I'm right now about 50% done with translation, so I'll make sure I let you guys know. Maybe in 6 months or so we'll have an English version. And I know if you like Soviet Union or interested in Soviet Union, you're gonna love it, because there's a lot of inserts in this book, stories about my childhood, and I compare those things with what I see in America. So that's quite a interesting perspective, and it's all real events. You know, it's not like I'm making it up. Hey, if you're learning Russian, you can buy it right now. It's available. It said. Do you think women were treated more fairly under the Soviet Union comparing with modern Russia? Oh, you know, it's a good question. I mean, generally, the whole idea was it's what they call in Germany, you know, like triple K concept, Kuchen, kitchen, church, you know, Kirche and Kinder, children, you know, kitchen and church. So a lot of it was kind of similar. You know, mothers will be telling daughters like, hey, you need to find the right guy, the one that doesn't drink. So, and of course there were girls that liked bad boys, and I personally, I was a nerd. So for me it was like, really, how would you be interested in some bad boys that sit there drinking beer and smoke cigarettes? Thank you for your nice words. I like that you like my show. I enjoy making it, and I'm glad I can share some of my memories. Nerds are great. Thanks. Yeah, but even you know, like when I came here, my wife was making jokes about my pocket protector. I honestly had no idea what she's talking about. We don't have those jokes. The people like nerds, they call it очкарики. That means the person who wears glasses. Yeah. What else? For much you know about computers in Soviet times, you know, I got just a little bit of it. When I was in the 8th grade, they actually introduced for the very first time cybernetics in schools. So they had these really primitive computers, mono screen, not color, and it was like a big, what is it called, like a data center in the back room, and then all these computers. So we started learning Fortran, the first language, but it's all we had just for 1 year. And I think one person really went for that. Yeah, Fortran. I think it was a Fortran, right? I remember trying to write some programs. Knowing now, I've been like, man, I should move in that field. That was cool, but I think it's only one person from our class that actually moved into this field, and I think he's still doing it. I'm not sure. Let's see. We just gotta do this. There we go. Any tips on learning Russian? Yeah, Russian is a really hard language. It has a similar thing like Spanish. It has ending is changing. So if you say, you know, cute boy and cute girl, the ending will be changes. It will be красивый and красивая. But of course, you know, you need to immerse yourself as much as you can. Right now, it's really easy with internet. You just need to start watching Soviet movies or Russian movies. A lot of them have the subtitles. And I mean, I learned English with books and corresponding. I had a lot of pen pals from Germany, England, Portugal, United States. So I was writing back and forth letters, and it helped me a lot. But when I came to America, I had a really hard time to start talking, because, you know, if you learn language with books, it's like you learn the car, manual stick drive car, right? How to drive it, but you never drove it. So when the first time you start driving, you'll be all, of course, messed up. So that's how I was. There was a question about drug abuse and prostitution in Soviet Union. It kind of came to light later in the end, like end of 80s, when Gorbachev decided to start the battle against alcoholism. There was way too much drinking going on in Soviet Union. Like, it was really bad. I mean, literally, like, you could see almost every day, because people don't drive, they take bus or they walk from work home, that you could see, the drunk guys kind of like making ass ladder, walking like this and trying to make it home. So the way they decided to fight drinking is to cut sales of alcohol. They reduced output, started making less vodka, less wine. They put the limit that you can't purchase any alcohol till 2 p.m. And then the drugs exploded and the moonshining exploded. And I remember, like, every village, in Ukraine at least, we all had a nice big patch of poppies, because Ukrainian people and Russian people too, I think they like bacon with poppy seeds. Michael Boo says, what are your favorite Soviet movie? Probably Жаркое солнце пустыни, the scorching sun of the desert. It's on YouTube. It's kind of classic, and also I liked a lot. It's not a really movie, it's like a TV series, 17 Moments of Spring, 17 мгновений весны. That's about a Soviet spy in Nazi Germany. That movie is not a comedy, the Scorching Sun, it's more like a action movie. Watching Russian or Soviet comedies will be really hard, because you need to know language and all this game of the words. There's a couple good classic comedies. Приключения Шурика, The Adventures of Shurik. Actually, that guy kind of looks like me, kind of also dorky dude. It should be also on YouTube. I'll put, when I upload this video, and you're welcome to come back to this video later and maybe type your questions again, because unfortunately the way this thing works, after I record it and I republish it, there will be no comments under it. So if you don't mind, you can put your question back under this video if you come back tomorrow, and then I can put you some links and recommend you what I think is a good movie to watch. But The Scorching Sun of Desert Sun, it's a good show. It's not a lot of talking, but a lot of action. It's kind of fun. There was a question, what do I think about Donald Trump? I don't like the guy. I think he's a dumbass. And like during even when he was running, like I could tell that he is really like not smart person. Like his vocabulary was so poor. And recently I think there's some news came out that his level like of fourth grader. It's a classic example of people who making out new words. Like W. Bush was doing all this, I'm a decider, and other things. Like people have such a poor vocabulary that they just making up words. So same thing with Trump. I mean, sounds like he never read a book. He didn't know what permanent word means. He couldn't say diversity. He said diversity. It's like, I'm a foreigner and I know English better than him. And of course, all he's believe me, and I'm the best at everything. Whatever happens, like, well, I'm the best guy that does this, or I'm the least person who is racist, and all those things. But I guess this country deserved it. Soviet Union, Russia also has their own local Trump. It's called, hoping I forgot the last name. There's a guy, he kind of like talks the crazy talk, and once in a while he hit the point. Zhirinovsky. So he's kind of like a local clown over there. He has his own party, and there's some videos on YouTube about him like being totally wasted drunk. He was in Iraq right before America attacked Iraq, and he is there just mumbling away about, come over here, Bush, it will be your grave, your country will be your final war. It's hysterical. So he never got elected. So I kind of see Trump being that guy, Zhirinovsky. Sometimes he's like, okay, he kind of makes sense, but you could tell that he heard something somewhere. He doesn't understand completely what he's talking about. Like when he said that NATO is obsolete and needs to be dissolved. I actually agree with that because, Cold War is over, since 1991, 92, Soviet Union collapsed. So why you still have a NATO? Russia was in shambles and rambles for years. So I personally don't see what the point to waste money to have NATO. But then, someone just talked to Trump like, this is I'm not just regular politician. I will show how the thing's being done, and then somebody just whispered in his ears, and he's like, oh, I actually didn't know that NATO is so important. We're just going to make them pay more money, but we definitely keep NATO. Then another thing, I was agreeing with him. I never voted for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary. I didn't vote for Trump. I went third party. I think America needs third party, fourth party. This two-party bullshit, I'm sorry for my language, it's like you have a choice between Pepsi and Coca-Cola. It's like they're both crappy. You need to have more choices, more options to choose from. And they said, so when he said that America should stop war in Afghanistan, I was like, yep, I agree with that, because, that is just, Soviet Union broke their teeth there, and America got to do the same. You can't win against those people. Like Afghanistan, if the mother puts the, bomb vest on its own kid and sends him, hey, go ahead, Allah Akbar, blew up those people, you can't win regular war with those people. I mean, Soviet Union tried. They were there for since 1979 till 86, 15 years. Lost thousands of lives, billions of rubles, and they pulled out. It was zero success. And the United States is in exactly the same path. There's nothing you can do about it, but there's a lot of people over here, military complex, making a lot of money. So it's all about making money. That they love this permanent war. Like if you watch American media, they don't talk about Afghanistan at all. It says it's on the back burner. It's just people making money. Soldiers die a little bit, but that's the price of freedom, and let it be. So yeah, I don't like Trump. I don't think he's gonna make it to the second term. They'll find dirt on him. I think he is so in bed with the laundering money, especially from former Soviet Union. So they'll get him. That's my opinion. Yeah, and I said, what is a two-party system? In my understanding, it's a coin, right? You have two sides, but there's a person who owns this coin. So they can toss this coin for you, and you're like, oh yeah, hope it's, eagle, right? Or the other side, but it's the same coin. They're arguing between each other about this immigration issue, but then Pentagon comes hey, we need $180 billion. Okay, they'll vote yes, and then they argue again about some stupid crap. We don't have money to fix the roads or bridges, but my goodness, you need new giant air carrier. Sure, we need to protect, our interests somewhere. And it gets to the point of ridiculous, because I found out that, the question, who has the most amount of military jets, it's U.S. Army, right? So they have the biggest U.S. Air Force, I'm sorry. U.S. Air Force is the strongest, has the most amount of military jets. Who is number two? United States Navy. I mean, that's ridiculous. Who we are so afraid of? My political point of view, it's complicated. A lot of it, I'm a libertarian. I would like government to be smaller and being less involved. But if you have a choice, okay, let's spend $1 billion bombing some other country, I would rather spend $1 billion here, even supporting people who for some reason don't want to work, or they can't work, or even I'm not a big fan of free this and free that. I grew up in Soviet Union. I know how it's ended. So when they say, let's do free college or free this, but I'd rather, hey, you found $8 billion to spend on military, that $8 billion could provide free college for thousands of kids, and I think it'll be way better impact on the American economy than wasting this money, destroying somebody else's towns and cities and whatever. But on the other hand, when it comes to people here, like I was here starting from zero and I always could get a job. Like I could speak English with a strong accent. I could still get a job. Yes, I had to work a lot. It was not time. Like I worked quite a bit, like 7 days a week, 10, 11 hours every day, but I didn't beg for money. I didn't have food stamps ever. So people who want to work, you can always work. I mean, you have to struggle in the beginning, but like I work at the farm for a long time for $5 an hour, then $7.50 an hour. But if you put 70 hours a week, you still can get pretty decent paycheck, right? What was the hardest part about learning English? It's to get your ear to start catching the words, because when people speak English to you, you know, it just flows, and your brain in the beginning is just you're having a hard time separating and understanding. So that was the hardest, is just people don't speak slowly. I've been in Mackinac Island many times. There's a question, have you ever visited? Yeah, 4 times, 5 times. I like that place a lot. We go up north every summer. I like it a lot. It reminds me actually of my home country, because there's a lot of white birches there and pine trees, and it's cold when sun goes down. So what I miss most from Ukraine? My family, my friends, some foods my mom's cooking I miss a lot. And like I like when I go back home to visit, I don't like Kiev much, but I like to go out in the country and stay with my mom. Like that village that I grew up as a kid is my best. That's where I relax, it's where I chill. Родился в России в 97 году. Oh yeah, I already was in America at that time. How long do you think USSR would last if Gorbachev never came to office? It would be probably about the same. It's just it's a historical event. I don't understand why people think that one person could just destroy the system. Then if you think like that, that means the system is really pathetic. Like, look, we have a Trump right now. We had bad presidents before, and remember there's oil crisis in America in 70s. It didn't destroy the country, right? The way the power structure is, like there's always people who can get things going. So if you think we got one bad general secretary and it's messed up the whole country at once, Soviet Union had horrible problems. It's like from 60s it's kind of started slowing down. 70s it was pretty much went to the total halt. Economy didn't grow. A lot of things was just called zastoy, so nothing was moving. People just didn't care. That was pretty much so. Andropov tried to take it more to like Stalin way. Gorbachev tried, and it's like you have the dam, and you don't realize how much pressure behind the dam, so you kind of try to poke a little finger to relieve the pressure, and as the whole thing just exploded, because the whole structure was rotten, ready to go. It was just a question of time. You think about it, the people who disassembled Soviet Union, they all were communists, right? The event to Belovezhskaya Pushcha, the leader of Ukraine Soviet Socialist Republic, the leader of Russian Soviet Socialist Republic or Federation, and the leader of Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic. They all were communists, like hardcore, many years communists. They signed the paper to disassemble Soviet Union. So communists did that. Gorbachev didn't destroy Soviet Union. They tried to get rid of Gorbachev, so they kind of went behind him like, well, if we take apart, destroy Soviet Union, then you are leader of nothing and you're good to go. They did behind his back. So communists destroyed Soviet Union with their own hands. So, I have nothing. I have nothing. What can I say? And if you look at the current leaders of Russia, Putin is a former communist. Now he's, all this religious guy and does all the building churches, but he's a communist KGB guy. Most of his buddies, they're all former communists. So you tell that, there was no real communists in 70s anymore, in 80s especially. it was a requirement if you want to be some kind of management position in the Soviet Union, you must be a communist. You have to join the Communist Party. So people did it for career reasons, not because of their ideological things. So, those people were just scammers. They didn't care about party. They didn't care about anything like ideologically building communism. They're just like, well, I have to be communist because I want to be director of this factory, So, like, I joined the Komsomol. I don't know if you familiar, make some videos. So you become Octobryon, like when you're a little kid, first to third grade. You're like you little October kid. Then you become pioneer. Then you become Komsomolets, and it's like a Komsomolets, the communist youth. So like in Germany it was Hitlerjugend. In Soviet Union we had a communist Jugend. So I was planning to join a college, and I was told like you need to be a Komsomol member if you want to join the college. Government pays for college, government has a requirement. They want everyone to be part of the communist youth organization. So I was like, oh god dang it, all right. So I went, and I was like, when they accept you to the Komsomol, you have like maybe 4 people, you have so it's like a meeting. They discuss your characters, make sure that you're a good guy, and then we accept you to Komsomol. But that was 1987, I believe, or 88. 88 probably, when I was in the 10th grade. In Soviet Union, we had only 10 years in school. And it's 88, it's when people like really, like the whole communist idea was like losing steam big time. So they asking me, like, so why do you want to join Komsomol, and your expectations, like, I want to, make my country better, I want to then become a communist, I believe in ideals. And I was like, I want to go to college, and I said I need to be a Komsomol member, that's why. But out of that group, that people who make decisions, the reason why I was so ballsy, out of 5 people, 4 were my buddies. So I knew they're gonna vote yes regardless. So this girl who was in charge, she's like, oh, we voted no. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. And they all voted yes. She voted no. She was so pissed because, I just told the truth. Like, hey, I really don't want to join this organization. I don't really care, but I have to be because I'm joining, gotta go to college. So this is how I joined. So the question from Comrade Stalin, still alive. Thoughts on Soviet Union in general? Well, it was a good experiment. Well, good, I don't say good. I mean, millions of lives lost, but I think it proved that that's not a right way to go. I don't know which way is to go, because definitely capitalism has a lot of issues. But if you look in every country, I mean, Soviet Union non-exemption, Cuba, North Korea, Albania, I mean, any country that experimented with the idea of no private ownership of means of production, they all failed. I mean, it's just the reality. And we can discuss theories, but every time you apply a theory to practice, it's a historical event. It was a big experiment, and unfortunately, it sounds great on the paper. As I said once, the socialism and the communism is ideal system for ideal people. But since no one is ideal, like the Bible says, we're all sinners, it just productivity fell, Cuba fell. I think Cuba fell as economy. I mean, they returned back to horses and animals-driven agriculture. I don't think they did it because they wanted to be, clean energy, like, oh, I don't waste fuel. I mean, they're trying to, but I think it slowly started going the same way the Soviet Union went. They allowed now little private entrepreneurship. People have their little stores, kind of follow Cuba a little bit. I would like to go. It's one of my bucket list things is to go to Cuba. So it's just a question of time. I would say in 20 years there'll be this mini after collapse Soviet Union situation, and Cuba the same. Have you seen Burned by the Sun? A long time ago. It's a good movie. I mean, it's more like a modern. I mean, that's when they started allowing people to tell more about Stalin. When regime fell, was it very chaotic? In Ukraine, yeah, it was quite a mess because, you know, the whole financial system, and they made this come up as a temporary currency, and there was a huge inflation. I mean, inflation was like in thousands of percent a year. Factories stopped. People didn't have, factories didn't have money to pay bills, so people would work like for 6 months and not getting paid, or sometimes they'll be given items like, hey, we don't have money, but there's a truck of bricks. Hey, you're welcome to sell it, and this is your pay. We had a lady in our building, our neighbor. She worked at the company, was making hair dryers, so she brought home 50 hair dryers, and I was helping her to sell them because she needed money to buy food. So yeah, so that was quite a challenge. So I was lucky. I grew up in Soviet Union, I have a great Soviet childhood, but when the Soviet Union collapsed, I was 20. So I'm not a religious person. No, I'm Adventist. Atheist. I don't believe in God. So when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, I was 20. So I was young enough and adventurous enough. So I did a lot of things, smuggling vodka to Poland, selling stuff on the market, buying, selling. So I was busy making money, not like be rich, just to survive, because my parents worked for years, for months and not getting paid. So I did a lot of work doing whatever it took. I mean, I wasn't criminal or nothing. Well, smuggling vodka to Poland was kind of legal activity, but I don't say it was criminal. A lot of people were doing it then. No, I wasn't a moonshine runner. It was there was alcohol smuggled from Holland, and then it was resmuggled back into Poland. And I was hired as a mule, so I had 3 heavy bags with that. It was a pure alcohol, and then we'll carry it across the border in a train, hiding it, and then a guy stays there and sells it to Polacks on the market. So I'm planning to talk about it, and actually in this book, if you can read Russian, I part of it I explain my adventures, because this is how I also earned my hard currency dollars, because I had to pay $350 to come to American exchange program, and that was a lot of money at that time, because I was making about $20 a month. So to save $350, it was quite a challenge. So, well, it's about an hour. I'm very happy you guys joined me. We had over 40 people, so it's very exciting. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll have more videos coming up. We're still going to work on a topic of stores in Soviet Union. Then I'm going to talk a little bit more about my family, because there's the next big step about us getting a new apartment. And then we're going to talk about about jokes. My next topic will be about jokes in Soviet Union, anecdotes, our humor. I already made the list. I'll be making, getting ready for that video. So thank you very much for joining. I forgot to mention there is actually such a thing called Super Chat. It's supposed to be there. So if you want to have support this channel, you can click on the Super Chat. If you donate little money, it will make your question pop, and I'm supposed to answer it first of all. Yes, I agree that Stalin was planning to attack Germany and Hitler beat him just for a little bit. There's a really great book about it called Aquarium by Suvorov. I strongly recommend who's interested in the World War II topic. It kind of explains a lot of things. So, well, I'll be finishing. Again, if you're interested, please buy my book. It's on sputnikov.com. It's not super thick, but it's based on real events. I actually kept the diary, and based on my diary, I wrote this book describing in details all the crazy things I had to go through, including, okay, I'll tell you, I didn't know that in America people don't wear Speedos. So I was here in Michigan on the beach in my Speedos. Yeah, that was awesome. So anyways, that was a good story. So yeah, well, thank you very much for joining me. You guys have a good evening, and I'll see you soon again. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. I'm very surprised and glad there's a lot of people who actually interested in Soviet Union, and we have a good conversations. I met a lot of people already who, like one guy has a German Trabant car, which is really cool. Another guy from California has actually AN Anushka airplane. It's insane. I hope one day I'll go to California and fly with him. That'll be amazing. So, well, anyways, you guys have a good night. Next time I'll see you live when we have 3,000 subscribers. I hope it will happen soon. Right now we're adding about 300 people per month. So in about 3 months I'll see you again live. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. До свидания.